Thank you very much for that, Natasha. We are talking wine here on Breaking Dawn. Now, since 2004, when Tigi Biela became the first black female winemaker in South Africa, the number of black winemakers has grown exponentially, changing an industry that was predominantly white for over 3 centuries. And so we're joined in the studio by Lata Ngwasheng, who's an entrepreneur, a winemaker, to share his story. Lata, good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Caesar. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. So I don't need to ask you. I can just tell by the outfits, by the haircut, you are a man who likes the finer things in life. Am I correct?
Not so far from being correct.
All right. So no, we were speaking earlier on, you're telling me you're from Limpopo.
Yes.
How does a guy from Limpopo end up making wine?
Well, I've always loved wine, you know. I am from Limpopo. However, most of my life has been spent in Gauteng, you know. And coming to Gauteng, I started getting myself into wine as a consumer. You know, I think it's been 18 years, you know, drinking and exploring it. It's always been a passion of mine, you know, before I even got into the business.
And then what made you think, you know what, I can actually get into this business, right? It's from the outside in, I already think, man, high barrier to entry, must be costly. I need to own a vineyard. Maybe there's technicalities involved. All of these things, didn't they deter you?
Well, I was kind of lucky because, like I said, it's been a hobby, you know. So the journey was leading me to a point where my interest grew from being a hobby to saying maybe I could do this commercially. And luckily, 5 years ago, my son got born, and I always used wine as gifts for my friends and family. And when my son got born, I decided, you know what, let me brand my own bottle and introduce him to the family and friends using that bottle. So I went off the shelf, bought a bottle, and then wrote a story. We welcome Leano to the family. So the LN basically stands for Lata Ngwasheng, but also Leano Ngwasheng. After that, I never stopped. I then realized, you know, this could be a business because the branding that we see today on the bottle is the same branding that I had for this gift. And from there, it just went on to be a business.
So I'm assuming you then went down to Stellenbosch and struck up a deal with somebody, or how did that work?
Yeah, that has always been happening. Through my journey as a hobby, I've always taken trips to Stellenbosch to do wine tasting, find out how wine is done, before I even thought I'm one day going to end up in the business. So definitely, I had those connections already. When I decided now it's time for me to go commercial, it was easy for me to make that call because I had already relationships from my times just as a collector and wine being a hobby for me. So it wasn't really difficult. I made one call and sat around the table and sold my vision to an estate, an award-winning estate, and closed the deal with them for me to make my own wines with them.
So then how does the business work? If I'm having your wine, for example, am I having the same wine that comes from that estate as any other bottle except with your branding, or is your wine different?
My wine is different. We literally sat down and I gave them a brief of where I want to go. I gave them a brief of what kind of wine I wanted. I gave them a brief of the kind of wine that I wanted and the target market that I was looking at. I wanted to cater for somebody like me, young people, young aspiring people, go-getters, people who are inspiring to be better in life, people who like the finer things in life. So that is exactly what my wine is about. It's a lifestyle. It's not only about the drinking part, but it's a lifestyle. The LN brand is more than just the wine.
So for somebody like me who's never had wine in his life, how do you convince me to start with LN wine?
My target market was people like yourself, you know, people who've never drank wine before. They feel intimidated by wine in most cases. So my wine is not 100% for the trained palate. However, the quality is still on point to accommodate somebody who's got a trained palate. So LN wine will be the best wine to get into the wine space with.
But why does, you see, that's another thing I don't understand. Why must it be now a cultural, educational experience? Why can't I just drink and be like, oh, that's great? Why do we need to go, oh, it's sweet and tangy? And obviously I'm messing around, but explain to me what goes into it. That's how you do food pairing and all.
I'm glad you're mentioning that. We are not like that at all, you know. We don't want to be intimidating. Yes, wine creates a certain atmosphere. It creates a certain experience. But we want you to have wine in the best atmosphere, the one that you feel comfortable in. We want you to have our wine in a space that you could have any other drink. It's not as intimidating as people make it sound. We're just about the experience. You and I could have a bottle of wine in the kokasi at some point and enjoy it. You don't necessarily have to be all, like you say, all fine and prim. But yes, the pairing will make you experience the wine differently. It does not necessarily have to be your cuisines. I mean, I have Mohodu Mondays where they serve my wines, you know. So it's really, the pairing just helps you enhance the character of the wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's speak now about the realities of getting in the business, right? Because for you say it was as easy as one phone call away. For somebody else who may still be in Limpopo or in KZN or in Soweto, a young kid was like, you know what, I want to do what that guy does one day. How difficult would it be for them?
Well, I think I made it sound too easy, you know. It wasn't that easy, you know. However, my experience in the wine space made it a bit more easier. So I would say, firstly, learn more about the industry, you know, enjoy it. You really have to, wine is not something that you can just get into overnight. You really have to enjoy it because you have to go through a lot of wines for you to get to a point where you say, I actually like this wine, or I actually can prefer this wine, you know. And we've got a whole range of cultivars that exist in the world for you to get to a point where you say, I'm a Merlot person, I'm a Shiraz person, I'm a Sauvignon Blanc person. So for you to get into that space, really the first thing that you need to do is enjoy it. Love love wine before you can even think the business side of it.
And because it's a process, right? I often wonder how many bottles get spoiled in the process over the years while you're waiting for the grapes and the wine to mature.
It's like any other industry, we've got waste. But with technology these days, it's easier to minimize that. But also at the same time, it also comes with the experience of the winemaker. You know, I'm currently in the process of perfecting my winemaking, so I have a lot of waste. You know, but like any other thing, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So there is that part of waste. I mean, there's a joke that they say, what do you call those things you find in peanuts?
Raisins?
The raisins.
Yeah.
Yeah, are grapes that didn't make it.
Which is actually true.
So there's a lot of waste, you know. So to answer your question, yeah, experience also counts, you know. But which is why for me it was important for me to collaborate with people who've been in the industry for years. My winemaker is an award-winning winemaker, you know. So it makes the experience more expensive and costly.
Well, we wish you all the best and hopefully you expand your business. By the time we look up, you must be the biggest winemaker in South Africa.
We're working on that one.
Okay, Dom, and all the best. Look out for Ellen Wines over there and tweet us your thoughts. Maybe you've had some of his wines at 4 or 5 mornings. Don't forget the hashtag Breaking Dawn on 405. Where are we going?